Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video, we're going to be looking at exotics and not the drop rates. The drop rates, they are kind of harsh, I'm not going to lie, but that's not necessarily my concern. And let me just put a disclaimer out there. I've finally, in this patch, gotten 3 exotics. Well, I take that back. 4 that have dropped from me. I have 5 Acosta backpacks on my main account, and I finally got a BTSU gloves, a pair of gloves the other day. And then on my second account, while grinding on the 20th of March, that's the day, I grinded all day. It's a new character, so I built some really strong skill builds because they're kind of easy to build. And some people in the groups just dropped me, believe it or not, a Merciless in one run. I think on District Union Arena, rifles were dropping, so somebody got that. And then Space Museum, somebody dropped a pair of BTSU gloves for me. So I was very fortunate in that sense. So I'm not necessarily complaining about the drop rates. People are getting more exotics now, so I feel like it's bound to start flowing downstream to people like us whose RNG is just in the gutter. But what I really wanted to highlight is the quality of the exotics. Loot drops by themselves are iffy and they're all over the place, and the developers have made the exotics where you can get an exotic item that rolls with varying stats or varying attributes. This system is a system that was in the Division 1 where you could get a house that had different talents, different damage factors and values and all that. And this was a system that we used. So you farmed the exotics and you were able to get, different numbers and all that. And they wanted to bring this system back, but I don't think they necessarily announced it, which is, in my opinion, very weird, because the former system of exotics, where they said they wanted all exotics to have the same amount of power, was something that was birthed between the communication from the community and the developers. The developers had already iterated where you could go get a nemesis, and a nemesis's base damage was going to be different from maybe your friend's nemesis when they finally crafted it, and then you had to start looking for exotic parts to craft a better one to get a higher roll. I think the nemesis was what kind of birthed that discussion. And then they said, let's just go ahead and standardize all the exotics so they're all the same. And now they've moved the exotics into this category where they not only roll, with different stats, they can sometimes roll with low stats. So this is a second, or I would say a third layer of difficulty of getting your, max rolled exotic item. Now, I do have the Dodge City holster, the one that I crafted and actually came with good rolls. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not complaining about this, but I'm saying, why farm exotics if exotics do not, represent themselves and say, yes, this is an exotic? So, for example, the BTSU gloves that I have on, or let me just use my Acosta backpacks. I have Acosta backpacks that have very similar attributes. And when you look at their numbers, one backpack just rolled less of the same attributes than the other one. Why not have the Acosta backpacks roll different kinds of attributes? In some cases defensive, some cases offensive, some cases utility, but instead have them all as max rolls, so that way even the sense of even getting an exotic makes you understand, okay, I have an exotic that's strong and it's as strong as that it possibly can be in that random combination, because you already have multiple random combinations anyways. If you have a backpack like the Acosta backpack, that can have weapon damage, it can have skill repair, it can have skill damage, it can have health, it can have armor. So those combinations already make the RNG, already complicated if you want to go that way. And I've seen people who said that their Acosta backpacks are actually offensive in that sense. So this change to me makes no sense. I think the developers need to take a look at this to make exotics actually worth farming for, because I'm willing to grind to get all my exotics, no doubt. I've beaten the legendary, 2 of the 3 legendary missions happily. They weren't even that stressful after I beat them. When I was playing them, they were a little stressful. But looking back, I'm like, well, it seems like players are gonna start coming, closer and coming more together to play these legendary missions as just kind of Saturday, lunchtime runs. It's going to be probably within the 30-something minute mark. They're already doing it in 17 minutes on PC. But, people are going to start scaling it down to the 30-minute mark, and it's going to get better as we go on. So the, exotic assault rifle that only drops in legendary missions is probably going to be falling into more and more hands as we go on. So the developers made this change in the state of the game. I wish I could pull the footage for you, but when it's time to go search for state of the game footage, you're looking at, multiple weeks of this thing that's been going on since the year. So I just didn't want to go ahead and pull it. But some of you remember that it decided to make the exotic standard. And now the exotics are now rolling in some cases. Some really tragic numbers. I will call it tragic because it's an exotic. It's supposed to have some rarity. And I think the developers need to look at the quality of the exotics that are dropping. Now, some people may say, well, another thing too is even the drops themselves. They're not even getting exotic drops. And I can understand, ladies and gentlemen, my second account, I have 2 exotics on there and they were given to me. My main account, I finally got 1 exotic to drop. And that's been it. I crafted my chatterbox. I think I crafted a level 40 chatterbox. I went back and farmed for the Dodge City holster. I haven't farmed for the Nemesis since I'm not paying attention to that because I don't really run it. It doesn't really incorporate into any of my builds currently since they nerfed the aces and 8s. But that's just been the case. I mean, I've gotten the Acosta bags. That's another thing. I have to be fair. I have gotten some good drops for those, but I haven't seen the Bullet King. I haven't seen the Lady Death. I haven't seen any of these. The Tardigrade armor has been the one that I've really wanted, and the only guy that could have dropped it for me, I think he got it right before he did a rematch make for the mission. So he kept dropping it, but it was only the other guy in his group that could see it, so he couldn't share it with me. And he was nice enough to give me his pair of BTSU gloves that he got. So that's a whole nother discussion for another time, but I don't want to speak to that. I don't think the drop rates are something that I should speak about. I think the drop quality of an exotic piece of item needs to be stunning. Like when you get an exotic weapon, it needs to be shining. All the rolls need to be max rolled so that that it's worth something for you to farm. And you appreciate that you've gotten it and you hang it up on the wall and you go on and look for another exotic, or you go on and look for other things. Because if you look at everything, exotics are not necessarily what everybody is running around playing with. Even though many people may say, oh, they want to run the Bullet King and all that, they have the Bullet King, then they're not using it. I would say that there is probably a percentage of people who are not using their Bullet King, or a percentage of people who are not using some of the exotics that have dropped for them, or they just didn't like the rolls and they haven't found another one, so they're not even running that exotic item. So why not just make those rolls max rolls and then let the attributes mix and match to allow for the RNG? I think this is something that the developers can do to allow for some quality within the farming and the game, because now players are heavily farming now that more people are playing the game more consistently because of everything that's going on in the world. And I think this will provide somewhat of another layer to gameplay and replayability. Yes, grinding the same missions, yes, can be really very strenuous on the mind. I can understand. I've done Wall Street mission multiple times, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, I feel like when you do these missions, and I feel like when you complete these tasks and the RNG finally, drops a weapon for you or a duplicate for your friend, it needs to be a weapon that looks good. Since you can't even recalibrate it, then it needs to at least massive, it needs to have the maximum rolls on there. Even though they're rare, even though they have a very small percentage to drop, let it be something that's worth for the player base to still appreciate when they get one. So share this video wherever you can. I don't usually like sharing my videos with the Division game and anywhere else. I don't like doing it myself, but because I feel like it's kind of this weird self-promotion or something. Because if I wanted to say this, I could just type a message to the developers too. But I usually don't say anything on Twitter. I just kind of read what's going on and then I make a video because I want to get a broader participation from the audience and the community. So I guess it comes down to the question, what do you guys think in the comment section? Do you guys think they need to be rolling minimum rolls? I mean, random rolls, I get it, I can understand, but the minimum quantity of rolls, like, something not rolling the max amount of maybe skill damage or maybe weapon damage, should this be a thing? So leave the comments, leave your thoughts in the comments, and I guess I'll be reading them. So that's it for me for this video. I just wanted to make this and talk about it. So I'll get out of your hair. Thank you very much. Peace. Bye. Peace. Bye.